Hello everyone, I am Sacrabolic, your envoy of despair, and welcome to the third episode of WIWR. Started with Aggretsuko Season 2. This season is kind of divided between three main plot lines. The first main plot line is that there's a new employee working at the office and Retsuko has to teach him. And this plot line drove me up the fucking wall because throughout the whole show, he kept threatening to tell the higher ups that he's being mistreated, but he really wasn't. They were just teaching him. And they end up going through everyone in the office trying to get him to do his fucking job. And, they even, bring out, Tone, and he doesn't even listen to fucking Tone. And what drives me the most bonkers about this shit is that, the Tone in Season 1 would not have put up with this shit. That he would have been fucking fired immediately by Season 1 Tone. But they do this to, give you a better understanding of the hippo girl, the hippo lady, but it ends up kind of detracting from the other characters in that regard. And he's such an irritating little fuckwit that maybe it's just delicate Japanese sensibilities or something, clashing with my angry American persona. But if I was fucking working there, I'd have told him what for. And, he can type on his fucking phone all he wants, but if he can't do his fucking job, he shouldn't be hired there. So fuck him. And that went on for several episodes and fucking drove me crazy. It was also about Retsuko's mom trying to get her to find a guy, and this is more directly tied in with the latter half of the plot line, where Retsuko starts dating a billionaire tech mogul. The themes behind it about finding your own way and not letting someone make life decisions for you, and the tech mogul's thoughts on how people shouldn't have to do just meaningless busy work just to make by really strikes a chord, but on the other hand, it does take away from some of the more relatable aspects of the show, in that, relatability is a big thing about Aggretsuko, and there's nothing really relatable about dating a billionaire. Most people won't date a billionaire. But other than that, it's likable enough, even if parts of it were irritating. I followed that up with the Rising of S.H.I.E.L.D. Hero. Everyone was kind of talking about this when it came out. Basically, a bunch of people from alternate Earths. This is one of there are multiple versions of Earth fucking isekais that are out now, get ported to a fantasy world where they have to save the world separately, and there's a sort of a convergence kind of Marvel thing going on, where there seems to be another world and it's clashing and only one of them can live, which that aspect of it is pretty interesting. But the main idea is that the king fucking hates the main character who has the shield. They all have a legendary weapon, and he hates the fucking shield one, and so there's a huge conspiracy where the main character ends up getting blamed for attempting to rape the princess of the country, and she is just the most unlikable character, which, if anything, they actually do a good job. She very rarely ever becomes so over the top that she becomes a supervillain. She always feels real and believable, and that's kind of her strong suit, unlike, say, the Pope, who is also a character in the show, who was just a blatant supervillain, and that whole plot line was just lazy and came the fuck out of nowhere. Main character's a huge Mary Sue. They try and he's worse because he's a 90s Mary Sue, where he's dark and edgy. Oh, I'm buying slaves. But he also has no fucking flaws, and people are oh, he's a good person deep down. And all he does is go around and clean up after the other heroes. But he never makes any real mistakes himself. And he's stuck at level 40 for half the fucking show. And he's able to defeat enemies that the other heroes can't beat at twice his level. And the other heroes are fucking useless to a ludicrous degree. And it's just if you're gonna do this 4-hero plot, it's really generic in that regard. It doesn't, but it's fun, and it's got a lot of interesting moments, and I don't end up disliking any of the characters except for the ones I'm supposed to dislike. So it's an entertaining watch. It's just it's a flawed show, I would say. Next up, I have Attack on Titan Season 3, Part 2. If you'll remember, my Part 1 review was just silence, and I was perfectly content to never watch another fucking season of Attack on Titan, but I got convinced to watch this. People was told, hey, you should watch it. I know you don't like any of the other Attack on Titan seasons except for kind of the first one, but you should watch this one. You'll enjoy it. It's finally gotten good, I've even heard. No, it has not. It's just the same fucking Attack on Titan it's always been. I still don't have any reason to care about the plot or any of the characters. I still only like 3 characters, one of which died. And it's really reminiscent of Season 2. This whole thing was just an extended fight scene that lasted for 10 fucking episodes. There are some dramatic moments and some cool scenes, and I've gotta admit, I never liked fucking Levi, I'm not sure how you say it. I've never liked him, but even he was, like, badass. like, even I couldn't deny how fucking badass he was in one of the scenes. So it had some dramatic moments. I mean, it's not my least favorite part of the series. It's just it just feels so, like, I would say shallow. I know it has themes to address, so I don't want to call it shallow. It feels like there's nothing for me to latch onto, and it's a problem I've always had with the series. It feels like there's nothing for me to care about, and I don't feel like I'm ever given a reason to care. I don't know why I'm supposed to like these people. When I talk to people who like the series, I often hear like, oh, that character's so cool. They're such a badass, and it's like, I need more in a character than that. My greatest pleasure, I think, from this season is that fucking Misaka, the girl, finally got fucking court-martialed. Granted, they were gonna arrest her for like 10 days, and I think they let her out in like 5, but at least someone threw her in fucking prison because she tried to. It gets fucking worse. She never listens to any orders. She just goes off and does her own tasks. She is the worst fucking soldier. She has threatened her superior officers, and it reaches its head in this one where she tries to kill a superior officer, and she still only gets 5 days in prison. Fuck, I hate her. Jesus Christ. Anyway, yeah, that was Attack on Titan Season 3, Part 2. Apparently the next season is the last one. I predict it's probably going to be somewhere between 24 to 52 episodes. I'm at the fucking end at this point, so I might as well fucking finish it. But yeah, I'd be lying if I told you I cared or was looking forward to it in any regard. Next up are how heavy are the dumbbells you lift. Basic idea about that is a high school student getting a little chubby. New gym opens up. It's a real high-end gym too. They got like great trainers, like world-renowned like bodybuilders go there. Meets another like fellow student who's also joining the gym, and they just work out, and it goes through various workout exercises, and they meet other people who are into fitness, and they talk to them, and they hang out, and it's just good times. It's like a little comedy series, but it also has, and it does a good job of like showing off its characters and kind of like developing them. Like the main character is like kind of lazy towards the beginning, and she's super active towards the end, you know? So they got some arcs going on, and they meet this Russian girl, and it's hard to tell if the Russian girl is going through an act or she's just trying to portray her Russian stereotype differently, because she admits that she is going out of her way to act like a Russian stereotype. But regardless, yeah, it's a fun series. I thought it was funny as shit. To be honest, it's hard to judge whether this is like an 8 or a 9. I genuinely enjoyed this, and I managed to learn a few fitness tips from this show. So, really great. Found out towards the end of watching it that it is created by the same creator as, and takes place in the same universe as, Kengan Ashura. So I watched Kengan Ashura. Kengan Ashura is the basic idea is somewhere towards the start of the Edo period, I believe. The bunch of merchants decided to start hosting like death matches to finish trade deals and exchange money and shit. It's a really stupid idea, but it's really just an excuse for people to fucking punch each other. And that's what this show is. It's kind of reminiscent of, it draws a lot of comparisons to Baki, and it's pretty easy to see why. It has a lot of the same feels, and it's kind of like a martial arts show with like some dumb aspects to it. I would say that it's not nearly as dumb as Baki, which I think I once described as the stupidest show I've ever seen. But if anything, that's actually to this show's detriment, because Baki's, stupidity is what kind of keeps it entertaining, where you're just laughing at how fucking ridiculous it gets. Kengan Ashura tries to have a bit of dignity, and it just makes it a bunch of guys punching each other, and all of the characters are weak as shit. There's at least 5 characters that all use the crazy laughing psycho character archetype, which, honestly, it's a terrible archetype, but they have more than one person using it, which is actually worse. The main character is unlikable, and he just wants to fight everyone, and he's a bit of an asshole, and there's a straight man, salary man, who's got, a bunch of kids, and I think we're supposed to relate to him, but it's really hard to when he's one of the most obnoxious characters in the show. The first, 5 or so episodes are just setting up the whole concept, and then I think the remaining half of it sets up what is basically the Maxim tournament. I think it's called the Annihilation Tournament, except it's way longer than the Maxim Tournament, where they get a bunch of, companies, and they all get their fighters, and they all fight in this big tournament. It's pretty boring. It's pretty boring. It's pretty boring. I was bored. Kengan Ashura Season 2 was actually a little more interesting. It's the same thing as Season 1, except for it continues on to the tournament, and it manages to finish Round 1 of the tournament. Oh, by the way, they didn't even finish Round 1 in Season 1, if I remember correctly. This gets you a little bit into Season 2, and I think they have enough room of at least the manga, from what I know, to do a Season 3 or Season 4, which I'll probably check out. It's not unwatchable, but I will say that I thought this season was a little more interesting. They had a fight between a doctor and a serial killer, and that one had a little twist and turn, and if you watch it, I don't really want to spoil it, because I think the twist and turn really makes that fight. They introduce the legendary Fang, which I don't remember, they call him the Fang. He was pretty cool, and they managed to have a dramatic fight between the cop guy and Cosmo, and even the main character didn't manage to bore me this time with this fight against the magic assassin man. So, honestly, I thought Season 2 was a bit of an improvement. If it keeps getting better, I might actually like it by the end of the show. But yeah, that was what I watched recently. I'll probably be done with a new episode soon enough. I don't know. I'm watching a little more anime recently. But I've been Sacrobolic, your envoy of despair. This has been WIWR. See you next time. Bye-bye.